Okay, so we're just waiting for some attendees to sign in.
They might have to update their Zoom. Zoom's just done an update, and I have found that a meeting this morning, somebody went, oh, sorry, it was late, had to update.
All right, I see we've got some folks on the line now. We're just going to wait about 30 seconds for a couple more people to join us. Thank you to everyone who's joining us for today's Lunch and Learn webinar with Heidi Hamilton. All right, let's get going now with housekeeping. And as we go, more people are going to be filtering in. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Shayna Furlong. I'm the Manager of Communications and Systems here at the Richmond Chamber of Commerce. Before we begin, I'm just going to go over a couple of housekeeping items with you. So everyone is on mute at the moment. We are encouraging questions though, so please submit them through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And actually you have the ability to unmute yourself today. So if there's something that's a burning question and you wanted to jump in with it, you are able to do that. So we're going to try to get to all of the questions submitted. If we have a whole bunch, we may not get to all of them. We may be sending some to Heidi for questioning afterwards. If you run into any technical problems during the presentation, you can reach out via the chat. So there's two functions. There's the Q&A and the chat. Q&A is for questions, chat is for technical issues. So during today's presentation, you'll see a couple of polls pop up on your screen. We ask that you answer them in a timely fashion. We'll get the answers to our presenter and we'll share them with the rest of you. So now that housekeeping is out of the way, it's time for me to introduce our presenter, Heidi Hamilton. She has a passion for supporting leaders to create an environment of growth, value, and purpose. She achieves this through priority solutions, concentrated on strategic growth sales practices, and as forum chair of the McKay CEO Forums, where she focuses on accelerating performance through the highest impact, least time intensive peer group for forward-thinking and action-oriented CEOs, executives, and business owners. Heidi engages with CEOs who embrace inclusion and see themselves as disruptors and innovators who are open to challenge. Her unique ability to integrate and engage people in executing on strategic intent is the core to helping her clients realize success. Her expertise in facilitating and developing practical, executable frameworks has yielded exceptional results for all her clients. And actually the Chamber of Commerce has been one of them, so I can vouch for her amazingness. Her experience working with leaders throughout the globe provides her with the opportunity to continually learn and appreciate cultural diversity in business, a topic she is passionately interested in. Heidi has an MBA in Management Consulting from Royal Roads University, a diploma in Financial Management from Damelin College, and has studied Psychology and Communications. She's a fellow certified management consultant and the highest award in her field. Heidi is also an ACP, which is Actionable Consulting Partner, and a McKay Forum Chair. She's trained in Dare to Lead leadership, as well as coaching competencies for leaders. Heidi Hamilton, everyone.
Thank you so much, Shayna. Thank you. That's my bio, and really who I am is somebody who just enjoys working with leaders to get maximum growth from their business and their people. That's simply put. So that's my passion and that's what I work on. So, and thank you everybody for taking the time today. I know the world is just inundated with webinars, so I'm really honored that you chose to listen to me today. What I really want to do today is talk about, I'm going to just share my screen here one moment. There we go. Okay, so today, the idea is really taking, and these are not my stories. I've had the privilege of, for the last few years, working with CEOs and executives in both SME, small, bootstrap, founded organizations, as well as executives within larger corporations. My passion is working with smaller SMEs, founder-led organizations, and I run a couple of CEO groups within those, which we facilitate shared experience, learning, a place for these CEOs to come and and leverage off each other's experience. And, you know, they say it's lonely at the top when you're on there. How do I do this? I'm doing this for the first time myself. So that's really my passion, is working with that. And our objective is to share some of the insights from over the past couple of months, actually. You know, we've pivoted, and we're meeting in person once every 6 weeks. And now we're meeting sort of every 3 weeks as a group. This is my issue, this is my challenge, shared experience, and this is how to go forward. So with their permission, obviously names and companies not disclosed, I'm going to share some of those insights and strategies that have been employed by these top CEOs to support their business and their team during disruption. The specific focus is going to be on the key lessons learned and shared. And, you know, I'm going to cover specifically what tactics and strategies are being taken forward into what we would call the new normal at this stage, to ensure business sustainability and a stronger value-based team culture. So that's really the objective around that. But to start off, I'll also give you some tools that you can take forward and take with you as an outcome from this. And I'm also going to run this as I would a facilitated CEO group, where at the end, I'm going to ask you for a takeaway that you got from this and what you're going to commit to do within your own business. I will say, I know I have, you know, an accent, and I tend to talk fast, specifically when I'm passionate about a topic. So feel free to sort of nudge Shana and go, could she slow down? And Shana will let me know. So on that note, I'm going to ask Shana to unmute everybody. And I'd like to hear from each one of you, no more than 15 seconds, please. My name and who you are within your organization. And then one word to describe how you're feeling today. Just a single word. And the third question is what you hope to gain from today's session. So I'm going to let go from the top. Let Shana kind of manage who and what goes first, but your name, who you are in your organization, one word to describe how you're feeling just today at this moment, and then what you hope to take from today's session.
Okay, so I'm just going to call on you, and I'm trying to unmute you as I go. So I'm going to begin with Camilla Tibbs from the Gateway Theater.
Hi, so my name's Camilla. I'm from the Gateway Theater. One word to describe how I'm feeling today, good, rested. And I'm just curious about today's session. I don't have any specific objectives.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now I will go to Amit Shpara. Amit, are you able to share with us? All right, we're going to circle back to Amit. Yeah. Now I will go to Debbie Wang from the Richmond Olympic Oval.
Hi, my name's Debbie, and I'm with the Richmond Olympic Oval. One word to describe my feeling today was I just got out of a very long meeting with my team. I'm a little overwhelmed with the amount of works that we are looking into and then what we are diving in for. So,
thank you.
So true. Thank you, Debbie. Next, I'd love to go to Kathy. Kathy, I don't have your last name.
Hi, my name is Kathy Chung, and I'm from Simply the Best. One word I want to describe how I'm feeling today. I feel rested and calm right now, and I hope to gain from today's session some insight to how to move forward and work with everyone in the community to get back to somewhat normal.
Thank you, Kathy. Now I'll go to one of my colleagues, Terry Mock.
My name is Terry Mock, and I'm the SME Account Manager at the Richmond Chamber of Commerce, and I feel happy today. And I hope I can learn more from Heidi, because we know each other, yeah.
Yes, hey Terry.
Hi Heidi, yeah.
All right, now I'll go to Matthew Wong. Matthew, can you share with us?
Hi guys, my name is Matthew Wong. I'm the co-founder of Purpose CPA. I'm feeling good. The weather is good, and things are nice outside. And I guess what I hope to gain from today is there's a lot of things happening in the world right now, and I am hopeful that we can use our collective corporate voices to make a larger impact on society. So I'm hoping to get some sort of insight on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Now I'll go to Razak Paracha. Razak.
Hello, everybody. I'm Razak Paracha. I'm with Data Sync Consulting Limited. How do I feel today? Sorry, I think I didn't unmute myself. Hi, I'm Razak Paracha, and I'm with Data Sync Consulting Limited. How do I feel today? I feel exactly the way I've been feeling for the past 6 years, because I've been working remotely all these years. And what do I hope to learn from today is, yes, experiences, how others have taken this disruption, and it's gonna stay here for a while. So what are others doing with their businesses, which perhaps can help me with the business, as well as what I can do with the community, as I'm sure a lot of people are doing the good work out there. Thank you.
So true. Thank you, Razak. Now I'll go to Christine Bilodeau from Great Little Box Company. Christine, I'm just going to try to unmute you here. Please join us if you're able.
Hi, it's Christine from Great Little Box Company. I am, 2 words, busier, and I see that as positive. So more in my industry, more businesses coming in for the customers that we work with. And I'm certainly looking to learn different ways and to adapt as we move forward with obviously changes that are happening.
Excellent, thank you. Now, RF, I see you've just joined us. What we're doing is saying briefly what's on the screen. My name is, and I, and 1 word to describe how you're feeling today and what you hope to join from today's session. If you're able to now, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I can see that screen on my computer here.
Excellent. Are you able to share with us who you are, where you're from, and how you're doing?
This is Arif from Santel Communications.
All right.
Thanks, Arif. Now I'll go back to Amit. Amit, are we able to unmute you now? Looks like we might be having some mic problems with you. I'm sorry about that, but just raise your hand during the session if you're able to work that out and you'd like to join us. And then the last person I'll go to is Dan Sakaki, one of my other colleagues with the Richmond Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, I'm Dan Sakaki. I'm with the Richmond Chamber of Commerce, and I guess the 1 word that I would describe me today is hopeful, despite being a pretty crazy start to this year. I'm hopeful, having gone through some crazy times here. I see us coming through these crazy times in good shape. And I'm here today because I've had the good fortune of working with Heidi in the past, and I think anytime you get an opportunity to sit in and listen to something Heidi has to say, there's an opportunity to learn.
I agree. I think now we've managed to hit everyone, and I'll turn it back over to you, Heidi.
Great, thank you very much, Shana, and thank you for those kind words, Dan and Terry. And I've got my support group here, so I've got all the confidence in the world to move forward. So, and the reason why I want to know how you were feeling today is I want to just talk a little bit around, the psychosocial phases of recovery. And this was developed by Human Resources Department, a disaster earthquake actually recovery authority. In the state of New Jersey, and it was adapted by a gentleman, Ale Duarte from Thinker, who really, what they wanted to do is examine basically how society moves through a disaster. And the various very clear phases, if any of you are familiar with any of the change management theories, as well as Elizabeth Kubler-Ross theory with trauma and death, these very phases that we move through as people. And really what they've outlined is to say there's 4 key phases that we work through. And one is the initial, where the disaster happens, right? Initially we go from feeling, that's it, life is normal, we've got it all sorted, we're 100%, got it together, absolutely acing this thing. The disaster occurs, we all know how we felt surreal. There's denial, there's disoriented, there's shock. And then we move into hero phase. So, or rescue phase. So we literally go, you will have seen how people rallied together, how the community came together, how masks were being made, people volunteered, people in businesses, the stories where staff stepped forward and said, hey, we'll take 50% salary cut to make sure we're going. These are before all the government support initiatives came into play. And there's this heroine, there's this stage of we're going to overcome this adversity as a community, as a team. And that's standard. That's the rescue phase. Let's rescue. And then we kind of go through what they call the honeymoon phase. Is, hey, we've got this. The 4 weeks into the whole lockdown, and, I've now got a bit of a routine. We've got this. Things are shifting. We know it's tough. But, hey, look at me. I've become a better person. I've learned this. I'm spending time with the family. There's kind of a buzz to it. There's still a novel to it. But then, as things happen and don't happen in our timeline, as we as humans expect to happen in our time and with our agenda, things seem to happen. The fatigue, stress, blame, depending on how that manifests in different people. Some people just become very depressed. And, there is a lot of documentation that the world is in a collective depression right now. So, there's grief, and that's the disillusion phase. And we have to get there. It's the way we're actually wired as an individual, as a society, as a community, and as a species before we move into the reconstruction and what they call integration phase. So the reason I feel this is important is I want you to just do. This is what we've come. It's the black swan. It's happened. All right. We didn't expect it. In retrospect, a lot of people saw it coming. Why didn't we listen to them? Well, that's the human nature. We all would have studied much harder at school if we listened to our parents. All those kinds of things. It was unexpected. It was unprecedented, and we weren't prepared. So what have we learned that'll prepare us? Will we become wiser as we sort of move through this and become more prepared? Don't know. It's human nature and where we are in the evolutionary scale, so to speak. But I want you to get a sense from you as an audience right now. And there's 4 questions I have. And we're going to do this one by one. Looking at where we are on that. Where are you as an individual? Where would you say you currently are? Now, the reason I asked you is, you've all said what your one word for the day is, how you're feeling. So it'll be interesting in terms of how you're feeling versus where you are on that scale. So if you could just, in 10 seconds, if you could all just quickly let me know where you are. Personally, individually, do you think you're in rescue stage, honeymoon, disillusion, or reconstruction?
Okay, we've got almost everyone's response. I'm just going to leave this up for the next 5 seconds or so. You'll see a poll on your screen for anyone who hasn't seen it already. All right, we're going to end the poll in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, so there we go. Reconstruction. Most people are in reconstruction. We passed rescue phase, that makes sense. And a portion in disillusion, which is experiencing very much that kind of thing on an individual basis, working with people. So reconstruction, yes, we can see the light. We're moving towards a new future. So that's encouraging, and that aligns with how you're feeling today. So the next question is, what stage do you feel your organization is in? And I do mean as a business, not the team, the organization itself.
Okay, we've got almost all of our responses again. If you haven't noticed it yet, there is a poll up on your screen now. All right, and we're going to close it in again 5 seconds. And we're closed.
Okay. Reconstruction again, good alignment. Some people still in the honeymoon, sort of having to rescue things, and that all depends on your business and where you are. So that there's good consistency coming through there. And that's the actual organization itself. Finally, if you have a team, if you don't bother to vote on this one, but if you have a team, all right, or work with a team within your organization, what stage do you believe your team is in at this point?
Okay, looks like everybody's getting their responses in. We're going to close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Seriously aligned there, in fact, even more. Okay, so that's the team. And then my final question to you is, has this crisis strengthened your team? Simple yes or no. And you can interpret strengthened in whatever way you like.
All right, everyone's been very fast getting their responses in on this. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're closed.
Okay. Lot of yeses around that and a couple of no's, and that's pretty much, so really the reason why I wanted to do this, just what I call taking the temperature, is this very much aligns with what we're currently experiencing, and what I'm also experienced within working with the CEO groups that I'm working in their businesses. The one overwhelming in terms of, from a leadership point of view, I've found very much that some people who haven't really been what their businesses would term strong leaders have had the ability to be strong leaders because they are crisis leaders, and they require different kinds of skill sets to stay a sort of operational leadership style. So I'm going to just launch into the 3 areas that we're focused on, and really I'm going to just share with you some of the challenges that businesses faced during this time, right? So we have an example here. If you look at the businesses, the key areas, and I'm sure this will, and as I say, please put up your hand if you've got a question, but the key challenges for these businesses were forecasting and cash flow. Very simple on the forecasting. It's like, how do I actually even do a forecast or cash flow? I have no idea what's happening. And yet, you know, in order to apply for that loan, in order to do that, in order to see what it is, I have got to actually do a cash flow forecast. And I have no idea where to start, because currently I can't work on the past. That data becomes redundant. I have no idea what the future is going to be. So some of the feedback and the insights from the team were actually really helpful. We're very definitive as a species, and as leaders and as business leaders. We like definitive stuff. We like facts. So some of the lessons learned from the group were very much like, all we can do right now is make assumptions based on what we know, make assumptions, and then, very important, look at best and worst case scenarios. So what is the best case? What is the worst case scenario? And what does that mean for me? Don't expect it'll be perfect or even accurate in that instance, right? Because you're looking at what is going to be valid in the future, and it might not be valid. So don't expect perfectionism, don't expect accuracy. What you can do is look and say, okay, let me identify 3 key levers and do scenario planning around these to start. Best case, worst case scenario. And the difficulty that people found with this challenge is it comes down to the same argument as I'm working on the business, not in the business. And now I'm in a crisis, whereas the business, I'm needed in the business. So one of the commitments that, you know, the group made, or this group of CEOs, is literally to take half a day with their team to do just that, and then have check-ins. So they set up the cadence of meetings around these specific things: the scenario planning, best case, worst case, and then checking. Okay, are we on track? Aren't we on track? Was a very powerful outcome from that. The expense management strategies, you know, questions brought to the thing is, how do I do that? What are the things I can? What am I allowed to do? What aren't I allowed to do? So some of the key, and what can also continue. So one of the key things that people have continued with to a lot, and are going to continue with at the request of their team, because they found they had overcapacity, but they needed to have the capacity for when the business rolled in. So that's a tough one, right? I actually only need 2 resources right now, but if business comes in, I need to have 4 resources. But here's the problem, is that I'm not going to have time to go out and hire those additional 2 resources when the business comes in. I need to be able to literally scale up very quickly. So one of the, and it depends on your business, of course, but that the team asked for, can we do a 4-day week instead of layoffs? We know we have to take the, okay, but this was about a team and a team solution where the executive were not going, this is the way it's going to be. Very important about this, they brought their teams in and shared the challenges that they were going through as a business. So other things were, you know, across the board pay reductions between 30 and 50% for all. In most cases, the executives took the higher level cut, and the team and staff took the lower level. Obviously, time reduction, obvious things like only doing billable work, halting projects, and then honestly, just as I say, the scenario planning. So those were key, some of the business challenges. We had somebody who shared a specific challenge. They had invested a huge amount in a digital strategy and a tech stack. And their revenues were now down. So their profit was down. Their digital strategy was based on, or the investment in the tech stack was based on them doing a 20% increase in revenue that year, which going back was great. And now it was frozen. And the difference is they were an online organization. This was to keep them ahead of the game, online training. And now their competitors were catching up, because their competitors pivoted very quickly. And from being in-person training, we're now delivering online because they had to. So their competitors were catching up, and this business is losing their differentiation because they were known for online. Everybody's doing it now. And they had this investment, and their revenues were down. So the big question was, hang on a second, do I keep investing or go into survival mode and halt all initiatives? So a very simple exercise was done around that. What if I do? What if I don't? What do I need? It's like that old-fashioned thing that your mom used to tell you, make a pros and cons list when it comes to decision making. What if I do? What if I don't? In this instance, the decision that they've made, and there's no outcome yet, it's too early days, is to double down. And because their competitors have caught up, and because they have to stay ahead of the game, they almost don't have a choice from a business sustainability point of view. So that's some of the areas and the questions around business that people dealt with. I'm going to pause there just for a moment and see if there's any specific questions, or I've shared just 2 as an example and what those outcomes were. If there's any specific questions around the business side of things that people have for me.
So again, the Q&A is open. So far, nothing's come through there, but please forward your questions through the Q&A. And also, you do have the ability to unmute yourself. So if a question's arisen or you'd like some clarification, please do so.
Okay. Awesome. As I say, do that. So another thing that some strategies that people employed during this time was a war room. You know, we spoke about the kind of what if and scenario planning, that they created a war room. Another outcome was communication plan. people didn't have a communication plan or strategy. So that's something that they've kind of had to develop out of necessity in terms of communicating with the team that they've carried on. Other initiatives, weekly town hall meetings, these all sound pretty familiar. Also use surveys with the team, which is an ongoing thing, actually asking the team, what is it that you need? What are your concerns, so that they could address them at the town hall. So those were some of the team things. The biggest challenges they were facing is keeping connected. We've been in the office together. How do we keep connected virtually? Well, oddly enough, the keeping connected was not so much the issue. And that turned out where some virtual connection strategies are being taken forward, and where people who hadn't even dealt with people on a national level were now talking to each other. So, and I think that you might have experienced the same thing. The flip side of that was connection actually increased to a degree, because we had to force the connection in a virtual world, and they had to be structured meetings with very clear purpose, and we went out of the way to make sure people felt connected. So that wasn't so much an issue. Where they did feel challenged is supporting their team. How do I ensure that I am supporting? So a very clear example, you know, I have a CEO who operates on, let's just say, the spontaneity. Spontaneity is what makes him an exceptional leader, inspires his team. So he's always on the floor with the team, and that arbitrary conversation at the cooler, or as he says, he gate crashes, you know, meeting huddle, or whatever the case is, or people are sitting in the lunchroom and he just walks in and what's happening. And he really, this gives him the heart of the organization. He lost that entirely, and realized as a leader, that was so necessary for him. It kept him inspired, it kept his team inspired. That spontaneity was what basically pushed innovation and creativity in the organization. Now everything was a scheduled cadence meeting. So what are the kinds of things that they did? Well, they had there's a game online, I forget what it's called, but there's a game online that all the team as part of the thing were playing, just to stay connected. He'd drop in on that and have a conversation on that. What he'd do as well is people he hadn't spoken to in his organization, he'd give them a call. Random call. How are you doing? And it wasn't about business. It wasn't about anything. It was, how are you doing? He found out things about his team members that he didn't know. How many kids they had, what kind of loss that they were dealing with, if they had, what inspired them as people. Just spontaneous calls to team members that they didn't really do that. And, oh yes, the game was Fortnite. Thank you. So he dropped into Fortnite. He then also introduced in his meetings silly questions at the team. Ask any team member a silly question, really arbitrary silly question. So there was a sense of fun. He managed to bring some spontaneity in that now he has flipped it after about 3 weeks actually of doing this. He's got people that are phoning him that he hadn't yet engaged to say, look, I'm on this side of the organization and this is what I'm experiencing. I think going forward, this would be a great idea. Innovation has come alive in a different form. So helping the team, keeping connected, we've got to, as you know, think out the box. And sometimes this speaks to who we are as leaders and how we shift and pivot to tap into what the team needs at the time. Another thing, supporting, set up peer groups with the team so that they could support each other. Just various things like that is, how do I support the team? How do I do it? How do I stay connected? Everybody is Zoom fatigued. We now know that's a fact. So what are the rules of Zoom? Okay, you come in, you are on camera, you do say hi, and then I have the right to, if I'm committing to the team that I'm going to be 100% present, I have the right to go off camera. I think there is a Q&A. What strategies are best to live with COVID-19, short-term, long-term, or day-to-day? Thank you. I've got that. Good question. Those are the decisions. There's certain things. Having a war room, that's moving right into the next level, right? So I'm really pleased you asked that question, and we'll talk about that. you know, having a war room is something that people have said they're going to actually have a war room set up immediately, and they're going to have a practice session every quarter, a practice session on a war room, what it is, who's going to take over what, who's going to be responsible for what, so that they're prepared for it. That's something that can be taken forward. A very clear communication strategy is something that you can use day to day on an operational point of view. But I will delve more into that. Another thing, personal, self-health and family. And I just want to highlight that one of the key things, and I'm sure you can identify this, that we actually did is people are going, I'm homeschooling and I'm working and I'm exhausted, and actually I'm working more hours per day than I ever have. I mean, if that sounds familiar, put a thumbs up, because that's exhausting. And I'm not sure my child's getting the level of education. And in part of the group, everybody kind of went, you know what, maybe this isn't a time for education, for maths and English. Maybe this is a time where our children are just learning resiliency, are just understanding that this is, you know, a unique time, and how can I manage my emotions, and how can I manage the frustrations, and all those things that are about life skills that perhaps aren't really always addressed in day-to-day school. So those were some of the things. And self-health. We sit in front of the Zoom thing all day. I'm normally up, you know, to get my 10,000 steps in every day is nothing for me. Right now, I think I'm sitting on 843 steps for today. All those kinds of things. How am I taking care of myself? Am I making the time? So going back to strategies, not just business, but personal strategies, the things that people have said, hey, we're making time for dinner time with the family. We're making time for each other. I'm making time to make sure I get out for that walk. What does that look like as I move into the new normal? So these were just some of the challenges that people overwhelmed. That's the thing, overwhelmed. How do I stop feeling overwhelmed? It's all coming at me. I don't quite know how to, you know, how to address what that is. What do I prioritize first? How do I prioritize first? And then I see there's also chat, what does the new normal look like? Well, I don't know if anybody has ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, but if you ever want a bit of light humor, please do that. And they have this saying in the spaceship where it is, now we reach normality, anything else you can't handle is therefore your own problem. And that's not to say it is, I don't know what that new normal looks like. I feel like a bit like my job as an advisory consultant has become somewhat redundant, because if you think of it, consulting and advice is based on experience. I have no more experience at this environment than you do. But what I will say is that that means we can all accept that, and we can all say, okay, so what does that mean for our business? So for me, I want to just say, what does the new normal look like? A leader's job, and this is Jack Welch, and I know that some of his tactics are, some people find it very kind of draconian or old, but there is the one thing that for me resonates. There's a lot of nuggets, as with any book, that I take out from him. And one is, a leader's job is to look into the future and see the organization not as it is, but as it should be. So for me, I've been very inspired by being part of the McKay CEO Forum Group, how we've pivoted so quickly into this virtual leadership world, set up 90 minutes thing. It's a whole new world to this in-person, big breakfast meetings, all those kinds of environments, right? And we've pivoted because the future is virtual. I'm not saying it's only virtual, but at least we know that it will be virtual. So that's the way to move ahead, to say, what does the new normal look like? And what are the things that people have done that we can literally benefit from and take forward? One of the things are, we look at it and say, okay, we've got to be future focused. So what have I learned? One of the things we're going to need when hiring people is strong and resilient teams. So what does that mean? All right. For some organizations, that means very simply, anybody I look or partner with or do business with, when I look at strong and resilient and future focus, I'm looking for people who are not going to go, oh, but I want to go back to, I wish. who are stuck in the past, all right? And that's nothing wrong with that at this point. We all have our own timeline around this change. But what I'm going to look for is people who are going to be future focused, agile, be comfortable with change, because that's important in my organization. And the odd thing is now, even if you're in a bank, large bank, corporate thing, that becomes an important trait. Unless you're just sitting and doing code, that becomes a really important trait in any human development issue. So if I don't have people like that, how do I equip them to be able to do that? How do I make them comfortable with change as much as they can? Because we're all very different. Some people, we force change in our life, and other people, change has to be forced upon them. But either way, a strong and resilient team, what does that look like for my organization? You know, the war room, virtual connection strategy. So a real outcome of this is incorporate for regional, national. What is my strategy around that? I'm still going to, a lot of companies are still looking at having what they call brain dumps or innovative or creative storming, where twice a month, anybody can come and literally they use Miro. I don't know if any of you are aware of Miro. It's like a little post-it thing that you use online. To literally brainstorm new ideas as to how that new normal is going to look for us as a company. It was being done weekly, now it's being done sort of every second week, and then they're going to move that forward into doing it every couple of months. So that's a strategy. What does that look like? What are ideas? Because that's going to set, my team who's talking to my customers is going to set that. So a very simple strategy. You know, it's like, let's build room for innovation so that we can equip ourselves for the future. And that means I need to put something very practical in place. I need to ensure that we have a freedom where there's no stupid ideas, and then we record those ideas, and that's going to be built into our organization going forward. Come, throw your ideas at the wall. The team that will then take them, organize them, align them to what the strategy is going forward, if we have one, or create it based on that, do the next step. But the team's voice is heard. The team who is speaking to the customer is heard, so the customer's voice is heard. And we're looking at literally just throwing ideas so that we can continually innovate our organization for the new normal. Okay, so that's one very simple thing that people are saying, hey, this works. We did this as a crisis management, and I'm going to incorporate this into my organization. Another thing that for me, if I look at the team, so what is the team looking for? The key thing for me, this is coming from is the use of the incredible resourcefulness that people have brought to the party, and the good faith of people literally saying, stepping forward and saying, hey, either I've got a job and I know it's at 50%, or I haven't got a job. So for 50%, what do I need to do? How do we make sure that this organization that I believe in goes forward? Coming back to how important it is as an organization, company, with the people you deal with, people aligned with your purpose, with what you're trying to achieve. And if that's not clear, what does your new normal look like? Or what is the purpose of your organization? What is the difference you want to make? All right. And it's not as an accounting firm, it's not to do accounts. It's not to serve companies to do their tax. Okay. It's to give them peace of mind, all right, freedom in their decision making so that people can actually get on and do what they better at. So is everybody tapped into that purpose as an organization? Another key outcome as a team was the accountability. What's that mean? And I have to tell you personally, it's a word that makes me twitch. Because what does accountability mean? So with this crisis, it was who's responsible for what, who's got to take in, and I don't have my supervisor walking past my desk, checking on this and all the rest. I've now got all day to get up at 5 to 8 and only be at the desk at 8:30. I can do that. Or if I only get to work from 11 p.m. until 4 in the morning, as long as I know that I've got to deliver this by this date, I can do this. So there were discussions that had to say, hey, what does accountability mean for you? And teams drew up an accountability charter. When do I own it? When is it expected? Am I clear on what's expected, or have I made it clear? So an accountability chart is to say, when I give you a piece of work, all right, I want you to ask me, when do you need it by? How urgent is it? And I want to be able to have the conversation to say, okay, if I do this, that means that the other stuff I can't get to the other stuff you asked me. You get it. So that brought it to a far more clarity for everybody. They had to be clear. They had to force clarity because of the virtual nature. They couldn't rely on body language. They couldn't rely on any of that thing. So it's, hey, let's tap it out. Let's no confusion. And that in the email, when I write that email, my very abrupt style, that's not misunderstood, because remember, we're dealing with all the emotions that we're going through as well. So, and then the second is, divine guidelines for those courageous conversations. How do you want to have a conversation in your world? And very important, as I say, it's get to know your team. We've got a number of things. So if you've got a team, leaders didn't know, as I say, who had children, who didn't, what their hair color was. So there's a beautiful little questionnaire, which I will read you. Questions to ask your team. Very simple questions. All right. In terms of, hey, what was your pet's name growing up? What was your favorite? Are you a cat person? Are you a dog person? Not, I've got a husband and 2 kids. Who are you? Very important going forward. And then what I call the GLAD for team dynamics. So this is really powerful. A lot of people have done this as a team and as an individual. Gratitude. One thing I'm grateful for, sharing at the end of every day. One thing I learned. What have I learned in my business that I've applied to move this ball forward? Very important from a business perspective. One thing I achieved. Hey, I said to, call that customer that I've been avoiding. I did that. And that one thing that brought me delight. I go for my run and I get puppy licks and puppy loves from the dogs, or used to, not anymore. But so that's the one thing to work with. Team is the way forward. The new normal is using team. If you don't have a team, if you're an independent, get what I call an advisory board. Those individuals that are happy, all right, be it informal or formal, that are happy to sit with you once a month, not on an informal basis, and go, this is my business problem, this is what it is, or this is my issue that I've got. And people who are going to challenge you and question you and annoy and irritate you, but with the best intent and best love for your success. Get a team in around that is going to literally support you. It could be colleagues, it could be people you previously worked with, but I can't stress this enough. We don't know what the new normal is going to look like. I don't know what the strategy is going to look like. We don't know how quick things are. So get people that are going to challenge you and force you to ask the hard questions at this time so that you can put these mechanisms into place. And then vulnerable leadership. Because we don't know, I don't know if any of you, I'm there to lead train, but courageous or vulnerable leadership is not stepping forward and telling a life story that's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, and crying in front of your team. Vulnerable leadership is, guys, I haven't been here before. We haven't done this. This is a first for the business. So I'm open to how we can possibly do this, as long as it's respectful, solution-focused, outcome-based, and that. So let's talk about this. I don't have all the answers as a leader. I had all the answers in that world. Talk from your space. And so these are simple things. Yes, we've got the business strategies. Absolutely, as I say, cash flow, make sure that you revisit every time, and that you revisit often. Forecast, same kind of thing. Have 3 scenarios. Which one am I playing with? Have only 3 strategies around each of those that you can work with. But most importantly, tap into a team, be it yours if you've got one, or create one that can support you through this, creating the next new normal for yourself. So on that note, I'm going to open it up for questions, and then I'm going to ask each of you for a takeaway and one commitment of, hey, when I walk away, this is the one thing that I'm going to try and apply because that's what we do. Learning is only learning when you can apply it. So what is the one takeaway? And what do I think? It might be read a book. It might be, don't make it big. Don't make it hairy. Don't make it audacious goal. We're not talking BHAG here. We're talking very simple. What's the one thing that I can do to move towards creating my new normal?
I have a quick question for you, Heidi, if that's all right.
Of
So
course.
I see on our call, we have a lot of folks whose business model revolved around convening people, and at the Chamber, ours did as well. Do you have any advice for organizations that are maybe going through a bit of a reckoning as to their product offering?
Yes. So, and that's great. I think the fact that, as I say, for me, I'll give you my personal experience. So within being a CEO forum chair, you know, it revolved around events. We had breakfast meetings with panel speakers. There was the lunches. We managed to connect personally, very powerful, and we made meaningful connections. It wasn't just a networking thing. We came together as a group, no more than 10 or 12 at a time. We spent a whole day together. Once a year, we do retreats, different businesses, industries, really powerful personal connections. And that's what events are, powerful personal connections that you're creating, right? So we had to pivot to a virtual world. So what does that mean? I had to go to my group and I had to say, what is it that you want? We were doing this one thing. So now I have got literally once every 2 weeks, you know, we have a 2-hour, literally that's just on, this is my problem, this is my challenge. I work with them individually. They bring it to the group. We discuss it. They're a group that challenge and as I say, really challenge each other. But then there's out of that, they make a commitment that happens. So we pivoted. That's the sharing. Then we have content, which is the learning where we get panelists. And we've now done those literally where we have daily lunch and learns that people can tap into the content that's relevant to them. And it's all virtual, all right? And it's also about the target audience. We said to them, is this something that you know the world's moving? Is this something that you want to continue to learn about and come on this journey with us? So it's the same as this organization I was talking in that is online. They have elevated, they were online, but they now have brought in new features to their online that makes that to differentiate them. So it's the question is, can I do this virtually? And if not, is this business still relevant? And the only way you know that is by basic 101 speaking to your customer. How is it that I be relevant to you? What is it that you want to see? There is no other way to do it. And some will go, I want this, this, and this, which gives you the ideas. And that's why I say that whole mirror, that whole kind of like brainstorming, innovative thing. If you've got a good lot of customers, have that with them as well. You know, say, hey, we're in the new world. You're really valued. I just want to take 3 of you. What is it that you want to see from me going forward? Maybe not now. Maybe you can't even afford to spend it with me now. But given what I offer and what you know of me, what is it that you want to see going forward? Does that answer your question, Shana?
It does. Thank you so much. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't see any other open questions in the Q&A. If you are on the line and you have an open question, please forward it quickly. Otherwise, I think we'll get to your final comments. Is that what you're thinking, Heidi?
Yeah, my final comments were not going to come from me. My final comments were going to say, and this can be a volunteer thing, is to say, hey, what's the one takeaway? And what's the one commitment? And if there's still an unanswered question, I know there was what does the new normal look like? And the strategy in terms of short-term, long-term. Once again, you know, we could spend a whole day. I kind of feel like this is always so superficial. So I hope I've addressed those at least to a degree. I can only say find the concrete stuff, and this is going to be about team. It is going to be about people. Even though we're not seeing it, the social and using and pulling on the resources that you have and the people to help you, and as much outside of the box thinking as you can muster, as opposed to this, we're in this panic, we become poverty conscious, so the more you can connect with people that'll open your mind and open your horizons, that's as a independent consultant or as a large scale business is the best thing I can offer right now. So one takeaway and one commitment that you're going to be it, you know, I will be sending you, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment, and No, I'm not. I'm going to open other stuff for you. Give me 2 seconds. So these are some stuff you can do with your team to get to know your team that I'll send. You know, where am I from an emotional, physical state? Get your team to do it so that they can see where your team is. But I think even more importantly is this. So anybody who knows Patrick Lencioni, at your team meetings, where did you grow up? How many siblings do you have? Where do you fall in that order? Get to know your team or people that you, or your customers, people that you deal with every day. And it's not just about asking these questions, it's about ensuring that you can document them. This is also a very simple thing I've sent you around saying, okay, you know, what parts of the vision, what is staying the same, what is changing, what am I going to do, have a weekly plan that gives people a part of the play, which task will help you drive, what's connected to the vision, and 3 goals. A lot of people are viewing this as an opportunity to literally realign and say, what is my vision? Because maybe it has changed.
So now, everyone on the call, you have the ability to unmute yourself. So,
and we've got 4 minutes, so it's going to be really takeaway and commitment.
do you have any volunteers?
Any brave soul willing to say?
I'll kick it off then. My takeaway is definitely the psychosocial changes that we're all going through. And interestingly, like the Kubler-Ross model, I feel like sometimes I'm going back and forth on that continuum. And my commitment, I'm definitely going to ask the silly question in our next team meeting. I really like that suggestion.
Cool, thank you. And you will go. You will definitely oscillate between the phases at this point. Okay.
All right, we've got Razak Pracha's hand up. Razak.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. That's why I raised the hand.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know that. My takeaway, you know, I think we already know the 80%. So, you know, maybe we don't know the 20%. So that's fine. If we have 80% of what the new normal would be, I think that's a great achievement. I think teams should build on that. Otherwise, this, you know, will never end. And my commitment would be that I should check up more on my teams than I'm doing it currently, because I think it all revolves around one way or another how your teams are doing. And, you know, I think not just get the core work done, but also help them or their families cope up with they putting in more time in these, you know, these times. And I think this is the best commitment we can give. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Heidi. Thank you, Prana.
Thank you, Riza.
All right, Arif, let's, I've got you unmuted now.
It seems like the unmute is not working. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah. One takeaway is, you know, communication, open communication, both with the family and with the business. And the commitment is to keep on doing regularly, not, you know, giving up. And,
Olyan halka izém, elfogom minden.
Sorry, I think that was our phone caller.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, Arif, I heard from you, I heard that in terms of open communication, yes, that vulnerability, hey, I don't feel strong today. Just letting people know, or whatever it is, that open communication. You know, as leaders, we tend to want to direct and control and fix everything.
And, you know, reward and recognition, that's very important. When you said acknowledgement, after doesn't matter it is successful or not, we should still encourage each other at this time. And that helps a lot, everyone to commit them to keep on working hard to whatever they are trying to achieve.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
All right, do we see any more hands coming up? No.
Well, I hope that personally that you do have a takeaway and that there is a commitment. We have a Q&A. Sorry, I'm going to just quickly, as a last. The importance of open conversations, mental health cannot be put aside. I really want to close on that. Thank you. Our mental health is what's going to help us to have the resources and the resilience to be creative and be innovative. And as exhausting as this might seem in terms of, oh, I can't do this right now, when we create those spaces for ourselves and our teams, even if they are forced at this point, it becomes the norm. It's like, this is a space where I don't have to do, I just have to be silly. I have to create, I have to give ideas. And I think that's going to be important and a critical part of the way we move through this. So, and to do that, yes, take care of yourself first. None of us have. I know that. We're all saying it. Very few of us are actually doing it. But it's never been more important now. So I thank you so much for your time, and Shana and Dan and Terry and Matt. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to the group. You have my details. If there's any questions or something you want to delve into further, please feel free to reach out. I really appreciate you taking your lunchtime to hear what I have to say, and not my experience, but the people I work with. So thank you.
And thank you so much, Heidi, for sharing those amazing experiences today. I hope all of you on the call have learned something today. I know I have. Before we part for the day, I'd just like to let everyone know about our next upcoming event. On June 9th at 12 noon, we have a really exciting webinar with Central One's Deputy Chief Economist, Brian Yu. That's entitled COVID-19 and the Economy, Where Do We Go From Here? So all Chamber members are also asked to join us on June 30th for our annual general meeting, also on Zoom. All of that information is up on our website if you'd like to register. So thank you again, Heidi Hamilton from Priority Solutions, for joining us today. Thank you all for joining us, and we're wishing you a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine. It's coming.
Yes.
Take care. Bye.